Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new video. This is Wind Waker Unflooded. If you're new to the channel, I do a 3D modeling project where I'm reimagining the Kingdom of Hyrule within the world and the art style of The Legend of Zelda, the Wind Waker, corresponding to the islands of the Great Sea, turning those islands into mountaintops. It's a 3D modeling fan project. It's a lot of fun. If you don't know what the channel is, that's what it's about. And I wanted to take today's video to respond to a couple comments I've gotten, talk about Zelda lore, talk about the channel, and just respond to your comments. It's been a while since I've done a dedicated comment response video, and I don't know. I guess I really value if there's a thesis for what this channel is. Yes, I'm documenting the progress on a creative project, but I'm also this channel is a way for me to engage with the Zelda community, create content, and just facilitate discussions about this series of games that I love and share that passion with y'all and that interest and be able to discuss it. I want to create a place where we can just share all of that together and talk about that stuff. And it's a place for community more than anything else. That's really the goal of this channel. So with that in mind, I want to start out with, this isn't even related to the modeling project. Recently, I've been doing like YouTube polls where I just want to kind of see what y'all think about lore, because there's some controversial stuff in this series that people have different opinions about. I recently did a video response to Matt Pat's newest game theory video where he was unpacking some Zelda lore, especially as it pertains to Wind Waker. And as YouTube's biggest Wind Waker fan, I'm claiming it. It may not be true, but I'm claiming it. The biggest Wind Waker fan on YouTube. I had to respond to some things, and I realized, because kind of as I was talking about some of the lore and especially Demise's curse, I realized that really, like, people do have very different ideas on that. I've realized this as well in a upcoming episode of Podcast Unflooded. I do a podcast on this channel with my co-host Alex Latham, and I'm excited about this new episode that we've recorded with special guest Lyrulean Historian. So stay tuned to this channel and subscribe to be updated for when that releases. We have a great discussion. We talk about Demise's curse. We talk about Tears of the Kingdom. It's a great discussion. Get excited. Lyrulean Historian is the one who drew up the map that I used as the reference for my 3D modeling project. He's the one who originally connected all the islands of the Great Sea with the world of Hyrule itself and connected its landmarks and did a lot of the creative legwork that made my project a little bit easier intellectually. So I really appreciate him, and it was great to have him on the show. But we talked about Demise's curse, and so just with all that in mind, I've been really interested in like what y'all think about Zelda lore, and just seeing, like, there's things I wasn't sure if there was a consensus, if the community had a consensus. So I've been doing some polls recently asking about, like, what's the difference between Ganon and Ganondorf? When do the flashbacks in Tears of the Kingdom take place? And I kind of just want to read some of y'all's comments and respond to them from some of my newest videos, and just talk. I'm just here to talk. I'm just here to have a conversation. So welcome aboard. This is Wind Waker Unflooded. So I'm trying to figure out where to start. I'm just scrolling back, trying to pick a favorite comment to start with. I think this one might sum it up well. This is from Mechadoos. I love your username, Mechadoos. But this one was on the difference between Ganon and Ganondorf. And Mechadoos says, it's simple, you see. In A Link to the Past, Ganon is Ganondorf. In Ocarina of Time, Ganondorf is Ganon. In Twilight Princess, Ganondorf is Ganon and then is not Ganon. In Oracle of Seasons, Ages, and A Link Between Worlds, Ganon is not Ganondorf. And in Tears of the Kingdom and Four Swords Adventures, Ganondorf is not Ganondorf. So I love that breakdown. And I guess, like, I wanted to start with that just to kind of point out that, yeah, in this discussion of who Ganon is, who Ganondorf is, it's different depending on the game. There's different games where the transformation between Ganon and Ganondorf, it's handled differently. It's not consistent. That's Zelda lore in a nutshell. It's not consistent. And so with that in mind, we can have theories where we try to have these universal theories that fit with every game and fit it all together. But just fundamentally, the games are made by different people, written by different people, and there is like a lot of shared creativity, and there are consistencies in the teams for Zelda, but it's also made during different times and responding to different things. And just with all that in mind, it's like you have to kind of treat each game like it's its own thing, like it's reestablishing the lore. And like there's so many connections. Things really do fit together. And for Wind Waker Unflooded, I've been thinking a lot about that and connecting Wind Waker to Ocarina of Time and the maps from other games, thinking about the map of Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild and Skyward Sword, and kind of pulling different parts of those maps as well, pulling them into the world of the Wind Waker, because I think they fit. It's all one universe, but also each entry has the chance to kind of restart some things. So some of those questions do just fundamentally change between entries. And I guess I want to talk about like kind of my own take on who Ganon is. That's kind of part of why I did that poll is because I kind of I gave several options. One of them was Ganondorf is kind of a host for Ganon. Ganon is a separate spirit. Some people talk about the spirit of Demise's curse, and I don't necessarily think it's connected to that, but I do think that there is importance in, Ganon being the Demon King. And so Ganondorf kind of being this Gerudo, he's a warlock. He's a sorcerer. He's a powerful, he's powerful for a regular human, but he's immortal, and then he hosts this immortal Demon King spirit that, persists through the ages and is reborn and takes new forms and takes new hosts and is sometimes reborn just as a beast in different ways. And that's kind of my take on Ganon and Ganondorf, and that fits throughout most of the series, but still that manifests differently. And then there's questions that pops up, like, all right, in Wind Waker, is if there is a difference between Ganon and Ganondorf, Ganondorf being the person and Ganon being the entity. In Wind Waker, Ganondorf is still mostly just called Ganon. It's kind of used interchangeably in Wind Waker, but there's also no Beast Ganon in Wind Waker. But there's Puppet Ganon, so what's the relationship there? Is it possible that the spirit of the demon Ganon is sealed away in the puppet? No, maybe. I don't. That's one theory. It could just, the Puppet Ganon could also just be literally a puppet created by Ganondorf, in the same way that Phantom Ganon is a puppet created by Ganondorf using his magic as to create another monster to test Link. So I don't know. A lot of things to think about, and if it was easy, everyone would do it. Before I read the next comment, actually, I think it's time for a short message. So I will talk to all of you again after the break. See you then.
If you want to be able to support me as a creator, there are several ways that you can make possible the creation of everything that I do. Become a Patreon member. I post all kinds of exclusive content that you can only see first on Patreon. Stuff like behind-the-scenes content for my filmmaking projects, whether that's in-progress scripts, storyboards, rough cuts, anything for my newest films that aren't posted anywhere else besides Patreon. So become a member. There's a whole range of prices, and you can support me even in small ways. That's super meaningful. Supporting me on Patreon too gets you in the credits list of any film that I release while you're a member. And like I said, even a little goes a long way. You can also collaborate with me now through Fiverr. I offer a range of services that could help bring your project to life. And if you've heard any music in the background of this video, that was my music. So feel free to look me up on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to music. Type in Joe Kendrick. That's JoeKendrick. Look up Joe Kendrick on Spotify. Supporting me is super meaningful. I don't make any ad revenue on Wind Waker Unflooded. If you see an ad on the videos, it's because YouTube is putting ads on their videos. I'm not making any ad revenue from this project. It's completely not monetized for me. So if you want to be able to support me as a creator, any way that you can do that means a lot, and it goes towards the creation of all that I do. So thank you to everyone who's supported me along the way.
Here's another comment kind of talking about the same thing. This is from a Negative Ion. They're the same entity, but it's like when he becomes Ganon, he becomes closer to his true nature, the spirit of the Demon King. And Laserface23 responded and said, I'd also add that this is specifically due to the Triforce changing the physical form of anyone under its influence to reflect their hearts. This is shown in A Link to the Past, where anyone who enters the Sacred Realm turned into the Dark World, the Sacred Realm, which turned into the Dark World after Ganondorf takes the Triforce, turns into some kind of monster except for the innocent Link, who becomes a rabbit. So how this affects Ganon specifically seems to be up to his own discretion as wielder of the Triforce of Power. So in A Link to the Past, he wields the full Triforce and seems to be retaining much of his human intelligence, using more magic and taunting Link, while in Ocarina of Time, he taps deeper into the power of the Triforce solely for the sake of winning at any cost, and is much more beast-like and unhinged. I do also like that explanation, that the transformation is just, it's also a glimpse at the true inner spirit of Ganondorf, and I think that's totally a valid reading. Yeah, for me, I like the idea of them being separate entities and Ganondorf being a host. Smooths over lore when you connect different games together, and try to think, just about how things persist throughout the entire series. But I think that idea of Ganon, Beast Ganon, being a dark reflection of it's an image of Ganondorf's soul, right? So he's a monster, not because he is a monster, but because his soul is monstrous. And I like that. I think that's a really really interesting idea, and it's totally, yeah, like you bring up that idea of things being the power of the Triforce kind of changing the image of the people who use it, and that affecting Link. Like, we know that that's part of how it can work. So I think that that's a great idea to bring up as well. So I don't know. I think that's really interesting. I guess, like, I think there's room for different readings, but I appreciate everyone commenting down below. And I guess, like, also responding to the question of the Tears of the Kingdom timeline placement. I want to bring up Wayne 860 8691. Wayne 8691 says, the thing is that it's hard to put on the actual timeline. Too many things doesn't work. So I guess it's either a new one or a parallel one with Breath of the Wild, and that could be Ocarina of Time rewritten for the flashbacks of Tears of the Kingdom. Even though I'm convinced that Nintendo doesn't care about the timeline, sadly, it's just games and fans doing theories. Um, yeah, I think all of those are options. I think Nintendo's, like, in assuming developer intent, I don't think they're completely removed from caring about the timeline. I do think these are things they think about, and I think they cherish past games, and it's not like they're trying to just move on from these games that we love. They're happy continuing to reference them. Um, but that means that how they connect to future games that come out, and Tears of the Kingdom as it came out, the history may be loose, and Nintendo's always been loose with the timeline and with the geography of Hyrule, and, like, when it comes to consistency between games, they've never been married to the idea of being super lore consistent. Um, and it's tough, and I think something to bring up. I was thinking the other day about Wind Waker's lore as I was working on the Wind Waker Unflooded map, and talking to people in the server, discussing that, like, Wind Waker's Link, he puts on the green tunic because it's his birthday, because he's the same age as the hero of Legend. But we know, of course, from in-game evidence that this follows the adult timeline ending of Ocarina of Time, where adult Link defeated Ganon, was sent back in time. That's how the hero disappeared. That's why the hero of time did not reappear again. And that's not just conjecture. That's the prologue of the Wind Waker directly depicts the Hero of Time's fight with Beast Ganon in the ruins of Ganon's Tower. We can see the flames depicted on the tapestry from that epic final battle, final boss fight of Ocarina of Time, where the flames appear in a circle around Link and he fights Ganon. Like, that's depicted in the tapestry, so we know it's following that timeline. All the evidence points to that. But of course, adult Link is much older than Wind Waker Link. So either Wind Waker Link is older than he looks, or they've misremembered the age of the Hero of Time, or it's just not consistent. Like, because that's just what it comes down to. Is just like, they've carried on this tradition of, boys becoming men, and by wearing the green tunic, and it being a symbol of becoming an adult, becoming the same age as the hero of Legend, but the ages might not be consistent between games. That's just one example. And that doesn't have to be lore breaking. It just means that the history of the world did not maintain their own traditions. So I don't know. I think it's interesting to bring up, and that's part of being a Zelda fan is, you have to learn to be content with these inconsistencies. And I don't know, like, I as a creative person, as someone who is working on so many creative projects and a Zelda fan project, like, I'm happy with games being inconsistent. I don't need them to all line up, because I'd rather the creators have the creativity to make the things they want to make, tell the stories they want to tell, express what they have to express without compromise. And I think that you can be constricted by trying to make everything fit like a puzzle piece. And I can see a world where that can affect your ability to express what you want to express as a creator, whether that's aesthetically or philosophically, or whatever your reason is for wanting to inject something into a new Zelda game. I think it's okay to say like, all right, like we're gonna try to keep this in Hyrule, be lore consistent. But when it comes down to it, we're not gonna let that hold us back. We're gonna make new things, go in a new direction. That's what I've always loved about Zelda, is that it can do new things, go in new directions. Wind Waker was a departure from Ocarina of Time in so many ways. Twilight Princess was a departure from Wind Waker. Skyward Sword was something completely new. Breath of the Wild was something completely new. As I've grown up with this series, it continued to change. And even before I grew up with the series, going from A Link to the Past to Ocarina of Time, the series reinvents itself with every entry in some way. And I love that it does that. I love that there's creativity, that things are new. That inspires me. And it's like, that's the way that I want to create. I don't want to be stagnant. And, a lot of fans talk about the Zelda formula and the conventions of Zelda. And we talk about Skyward Sword with this idea that Skyward Sword was stale. The conventions of Zelda had become stale. But I think that there's a discussion there where I get where you're coming from. You can talk about linearity versus non-linearity in game design. We can talk about several things where I think led to people being disappointed with Skyward Sword. I love Skyward Sword, but that's a different discussion. I had to fall in love with it. I didn't like it at first, but we'll talk about that later. But I guess all this to say is, like, when it comes down to it, Zelda is always bringing something new to the table, and it's not afraid to. And I hope that it continues to do that and push that even further and do more and more new things. So while I want to expand upon this history and connect all the dots, I get that just fundamentally it's hard to, and I don't want to limit the creators. I don't want to ask them to limit themselves. That's my take right now. I also want to bring up a comment, and I want to be careful how I bring this up. It's not a negative comment, but it is criticism about the channel, and so I want to discuss it and respond to it and let you know that your voice is being heard. That's why I bring it up. We may end with it. I may read a comment afterward, but it's just something I've been thinking about, and I just wanted to kind of talk about this piece of criticism about the content on the channel, and just let you know that, like, I hear you, and I want to ask the rest of the audience, like, what do y'all think? I want to know if there's a consensus. Do a lot of y'all agree with this commenter? I'm not going to read their name. Like I said, like, it's not a hateful negative comment. It's criticism about the channel, and I don't want to draw attention to. I'm not trying to act like there's beef or anything, right? I don't want to play that game. But they said the big issue I'm starting to have with your videos is you don't ever finish what you have in the title. So what happened to the Castle Town? These videos have turned into more of just you talking and barely making any progress on what you're working on in the video. I think that's totally valid. I responded like, you are right. Progress is slow, but it's a big project. So stay along for the ride and we'll see it completed one day. That's what I said. And they responded. And brought up some points that I think that's totally fair. I think it's fair to be dissatisfied with the way I release content on the channel. They said, I think instead of making multiple videos a week, you should take more time to make sure that there's actually more to show. I'm a 3D artist myself, so I get it. But instead of 3 videos a week of very unfinished work, it might be nicer to see just 1 video a week or every 2 weeks and have more actual content in the video itself. Personally, it has made me lose interest in watching these videos, and makes me want to wait until the end of the project to come back. And I think that's totally valid. I guess I just wanted to bring that up just to see, like, how many other people feel that way. Because to me, I started, this is, my perspective as I started making videos on the channel is that I kind of started with this mindset. I wasn't updating regularly, and growth on the channel was very slow. And there were people that showed interest, but I could tell that there was not the same engagement as when I started, when I became more willing to post more regularly, show more unfinished progress. And I think, like, there was a kind of a hurdle I had to cross, because in the beginning, I was like, I wanted to wait to show something until it looked more done. I didn't even want to show you something if it looked unfinished, because I didn't want to show you the holes in the map. I just wanted to say, look at what I've achieved, right? And waited to post. But I feel like there came a point where I continued to try things, and I realized that when I was more transparent with the progress on the channel, there was more views, there was more comments, there was more engagement, there was more interest, there were more subscribers, it all just kind of showed me that I'm like, I think people want to see the project even when it's not finished. And I think they want to see more um, from it, you know. So I don't know, like that's my take on like just based on the numbers, like that's the way the channel's grown, and um, and I think that it makes sense for the kind of content I make to do it that way. Because I guess like the reality is, even if I waited a couple weeks to show you progress, it would still be unfinished. Like it would still, it would still just be a here's part of something, um, and you would definitely still be able to. I don't know, like it wouldn't feel like a finished update, even if it was a little bit more substantial. So I don't know. I guess like comment down below if you don't feel like the updates are substantial. I mean, the time lapses are the result of a good bit of work. So I don't know. I guess I just wanted to bring this up just to kind of invite you all to comment down below. I want to know what y'all think about it, because this is just like fundamentally like I found this is the way I create content right now. And I've created kind of a schedule, and there's regularity, and I update regularly. And I think that's a strength for the channel. And I guess I want to bring this up in the context of the curation of the kind of content that I produce and continue to continue to produce. Because there's different things that I create that have a different level of curation. Modeling time lapses have a very low level of curation. These are regular, screen cap, voiceover, speed it up, and post, spit out the video. And I think that that's okay, because like the quality is not in, ooh, this is a really well edited video. The quality is in, oh, let's discuss this, let's share excitement about a project that we care about, a series that we care about, and show you just a little bit of work, just a little bit of progress on the project. It's a vlog kind of style, a devlog in many ways. That's the way that I approach my modeling videos. And the podcasts, like their discussion is, it's still a really easy edit, but it's a little more curated. And we want to do an official episode where we talk about something, compared to just the voiceover in my time lapses. That's a little more curated, And then sometimes I'll do a special video where I'm, there's some kind of video special where it's a little more curated. I'm talking about something a little more specific. It may even be scripted. That's a little more curated. Then of course there's short films that I make on my main channel, and they're the most curated type of thing that I produce. So go to my main channel if you want to see that. And I rarely upload short films. It takes me a while to make them. So it's like, I don't know, like there's different kinds of content that take me a different amount of time to produce. And I feel like for this channel, it's gotten more out of posting more regularly, even if it's not the most highly curated thing, just being able to show y'all progress, invite y'all into the project, talk to y'all about the project, and have something to share regularly. And so I don't know, to me, like all of those things have become strengths. And I guess I'm sorry if that's not satisfying to watch. But I guess I just wanted to open up that conversation, because these are things I think about and I want to continue to think about. And my upload schedule may change. Like the reality is that like I'm uploading regularly now. I'm not always going to have the freedom and the time to upload regularly. And so like just naturally there will be periods where I upload less. And so like I'm just letting y'all know that that's just a natural reality. Even when the project continues, there will be a time when progress slows. But I guess all this just to say, I wanted to kind of just have that discussion with y'all, let y'all know that, I see your criticism, I see your feedback, and I take it. And sometimes I'm still figuring out what to do with it. I want to be able to take all the feedback that I can and improve my content, improve my channel. But sometimes there's some stuff I still have to kind of sit on and think, well, what do I actually think about this? What can I change about the way that I produce content? What are my strengths for this channel? And like I said at the beginning of this video, it's like ultimately part of this channel is showing off this creative project, but it's also creating a space where we can regularly share this community that we've created here. And that's also important to me, and that's kind of like, that's something that comes with posting regularly. And so I don't know. That's all I have to say about that. I don't want to ramble anymore, but I just wanted to kind of read some comments, talk about that at the very end, and just open up just a little more feedback. I want to know what y'all think, and comment down below. Any more comments that you want me to respond to? I really appreciate everyone that leaves comments, and it means a lot that y'all are interested in this channel and want to engage with the project and share your ideas and talk to me. Like that's super meaningful. So thank you all so much for watching. Without further ado, I'll let you go.